Okay, so I think we're just about ready to get started. If you guys can just go through and make sure you are on mute. I will be making sure, and I'll be monitoring the chat box as well if anyone has any questions throughout the presentation. So for everyone who doesn't know, my name is Elena Watson, and I am the fitness specialist over at Four Farm Springs Fitness Center. I just wanted to thank you guys all so much for joining us today for this Being Mindful with Health and Nutrition presentation with Jody, Reade, and Janine Fonfara of Hartford Healthcare. And a special thank you out to Peter Jesse for helping put this entire thing together. If you guys have attended our previous webinar in April, this is pretty much an extension off of that, and we'll go into much more detail based on the feedback that we received. We're super excited to have Hartford Healthcare lending their expertise on this topic, and I will be posting a link in the chat box, which will lead to a short survey about the presentation after it has concluded. So please take a minute to fill it out if you get the chance, which helps us continue to put on these wonderful webinars. And with that, I will hand it over to Jody and Janine to let them tell you a little bit more about themselves and get us started. Thank you.
Thank you, Elena. Hi, everyone. My name is Janine Fonfara. I'm a doctor of behavioral health, and I'm a licensed clinical social worker. I work for Integrated Care Partners for Hartford Healthcare.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jody Reade. I'm a registered dietitian for Hartford Healthcare Mid-State Hospital. I work for the Diabetes and Nutrition Center. I do outpatient nutrition counseling for very degrees of diabetes, kidney disease, a bunch of different things, weight loss.
And Jody and I are going to start out today sharing some mental health reminders during this time, and then we'll get more specifically into healthy eating. So thank you so much for the opportunity for being able to meet with you today. And I'm going to just forward this slide. Okay. So we're starting out today's presentation with problem solving because we all find ourselves in a shifting normal day by day, quite some time. So we want to be sure to provide you with some skills to help you get through the challenges ahead. So when problem solving, ask yourself, is this a problem or a challenge that I can solve? If so, brainstorm solutions, pick the best idea and give it a try. If one doesn't work, try plan B. And if there's nothing that you can do to solve the problem or address the challenge in a timely manner, then let it go and focus on something more useful instead. This is a time in our lives that we must build our fortitude and our resilience. Many skills can be used and exercised at this time to help us get through now and build our character for the future. So remember a time in your life when things were difficult, but you got through it. How did you get through it? What did you do? What did you say to yourself? Who may have been in your life that was supportive or helpful? Did you speak to a counselor or a therapist? Remember some useful wisdom that may have been shared with you. And what did you learn about yourself that led to your success about dealing with challenges? And which of these could be useful again now? What makes us human, these are the times when we picture the worst case scenario, possible outcomes of a situation. We're biologically predisposed to do that. This is where we need to think things through and focus on what we call realistic optimism. So these are some items that we'd ask you to think about when you're worrying about a situation. How realistic is that outcome? And what would be so bad about that? What alternative outcomes might there be? What is the most likely outcome? And what would I say to a friend or a loved one? And of that, what could I say to myself, which would be helpful to me at this time? So we have to use our logic and our reasoning during a time like this. This is ultimately our greatest strength as a human. So seeing things for what they are, assess our multiple options, making wise decisions, collaborating with others, and being calm, courageous, and positive is especially important in a time like this. And this may sound overly simplified, but this is very true. What we focus on grows. So it's important to take time every day to focus on gratitude and kindness. Some people find that keeping a gratitude journal, writing down 3 things each day that you are grateful for, is very helpful. There's also evidence that shows that helping others is good for everyone's mental health. So thinking about what you can do today to help a friend or family member or a loved one. Jody will focus much more on this, but every day, and certainly in times of challenge, it's important to look after ourselves, to eat healthy, to exercise regularly, to be on a regular sleep schedule, and to stay connected with others. So important to manage media influence. Sometimes we have that news on in the background and we don't even remember that we have it on. But really important to set time limits for that. And please be very mindful about what you have on, even as background noise with children in the home, because they pick up on everything that they hear. And we may be, so focused on other things, we don't even realize what might be coming on the news. So please just manage that media influence for yourselves. When life is out of routine and structure, it's important that we create our own routine and structure. So thinking about what's the best time of day for you to get up, eat meals, go to bed. What time of the day are you most productive? When would be a good time of day to exercise? When is it easiest to get in touch with others? And coordinating and negotiating what will work best for others and for you. Now, even with the best of preparation, certainly there are mental health crises. We're on a rise globally, certainly with mental health crises, and absolutely within the United States. So there is a national crisis phone number, which is 1-800-273-TALK. And I'll also let you know that today Hartford Healthcare will be announcing a 24-hour a day, 7-day-a-week hotline for any Connecticut resident. You'll see that in the news today. You'll see that on billboards. The number is 833-621-0600. That will be manned by licensed clinical social workers or psychologists, and who can help people immediately in time of crisis. So again, anxiety is a biological response to stress. We are very hardwired to lean toward this emotion. So when it happens, don't let it take you by surprise. Know that it's a normal physiological response to stress, and that you have the ability to have a plan in place to manage anxiety. Conflict, as we said, is on the rise in households, people being together in tight spaces, facing any number of challenges within our lives, life being so different than what it is. So important to remember that none of us have been here before. We're all managing this stress to the best of our ability. If times get too intense, please remember it's the time to walk away from the situation. An issue can be readdressed later when everybody has a cool head about themselves. So important to remind you about sleep. So good sleep is necessary to function at our best. So please remember good sleep hygiene. No screens in bed or an hour before bed. And Jody's going to talk a little bit more about this. Establish a bedtime routine. If you can't fall asleep within 20 minutes, get out of bed, stretch, read a book, go back to bed, and postpone worrying. I'm a great one for that. So I say to myself, is this something I can really manage at this particular moment at 11 o'clock at night or 1 o'clock in the morning? I can't. So I can always pick that worry up again tomorrow. But for now, I have to place it aside in order to get some rest. We've all managed some loss through this time. Sometimes it's loss of future plans, it's the graduations from school, and most tragically, certainly loved ones. So during this time, focus on what you still can do, focus on other ways of staying in touch, of keeping fit, of being productive and active, and having some fun. Lots of people have come to us with managing kids at home. And so just remembering that stress and anxiety, again, is normal. The kids often feel that they're responsible for what's happening. So reassure them that this is the adult's job to keep them safe and that you have it covered for them. Keeping friendships for kids, so having them find creative ways to stay in touch with each other. Having the routine and structure helps kids feel safe during uncertain times. As we said earlier, watch that media, restrict the access to the rolling news, and making sure that they have plenty of opportunity to play, as play is fundamental to the well-being and development of kids. Homeschooling is certainly in process. You all know that, those of you who have kids at home. So what we found is that, establishing those rules early on, you can lighten up on them later. We certainly like to say school needs you to do X, as opposed to I need you to do X. So school needs you to do X, and then we can do Y after you've accomplished this. And certainly different types of learning. So some kids might need more help than others. Always keeping a clean environment where your child is doing their work, a pretty empty environment so that they can focus more on their school. And making the most of this situation. So there have been positives that have come out of this time. So focus on what you can do despite the current restrictions. What can you do today that you enjoy, that you find relaxing, that gives you a sense of achievement and helps you feel connected to others? And Jody's going to talk to you more about setting SMART goals, but these are goals that are specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time limited. And so some of my final thoughts are, this is not intended to be an answer for everything. Different people find different things that work for them. And as when we learn how to become more resilient, we learn how to embrace the beautifully broad spectrum of us who are in the arena in whatever way we are. Deep gratitude to each of you for all that you do. Here are some resources that I have available, and then Jody's going to take over sharing from here. Thank you all so much for your time.
Thank you, Janine. All right, so I'm just gonna stop your sharing and open up mine. All right. Hope that looks okay for everyone. So I have a few slides, a lot. So I'm going to try to go through them. Some of them are just more of like charts and everything to go through. Just hold on one second. Okay. All right. So diet. I like to call it a 4-letter word. A lot of people look at it as it's a bad word, but it's actually just the food and drink that we regularly are having. You don't want to look at it as having that it's a bad thing. A lot of people think it's restricting something in order to lose weight, or it gets the bad connotation when you link it with a fad diet. You just want to try to learn the overall healthy eating and the things to focus on, like the more fruits and vegetables. So dieting versus mindful eating. I really liked this slide. So being mindful, there's a whole vast arena as far as eating, but it's also just being more mindful in how we interact with everybody too. But as far as like mindful eating, it's more of putting the focus on the food versus having the willpower, or dieting is like the quick fix. You have to restrict something or be very rigid. You always have to feel like there's like a bad food or a good food. And when you start focusing on the mindful eating, you focus on recognizing internal cues, we call them. Triggers for yourself, things, maybe you can have a bite of that, or maybe try to avoid it at this time if you're feeling stressed out, if it's a stress, like a coping mechanism. Focusing on high quality calories instead of that this was 800 calories of a brownie versus what you could have gotten for 800 calories of vegetables and fruit and protein. And then you want to focus on more mindful eating versus mindless eating. So usually what I tell people is try to find out if you are hungry versus, am I hungry, or am I just, is it habit? Am I eating too quickly? And then you get that stuff feeling. When you're trying to do mindful eating, you try to eat with all of your senses. So smell the food, taste it if it's a finger food. Try not to have any guilt or judgment if you toward yourself. If you're like, well, I really want this brownie. I don't want to feel too guilty about it. Don't feel guilty about it. It's okay. And then paying attention to what you're eating, being aware. Being aware of the chewing, the tasting, the swallowing, acknowledging that you went and cooked the food and you made something very healthy for yourself. And then like the different colors that are on the plate, just being more aware with every one of your senses. And then mindful eating, so why practice it? There's a lot of evidence that can help with long-term weight management, your overall physical health, because as we keep our weight more stable and keep it into a normal BMI range or even overweight range, you decrease your risk for the comorbidities of high blood pressure, diabetes, cardiovascular disease. It's also good for your emotional health and stress management. A lot of people, Janine mentioned about the anxiety, and that's a normal response to things. And a lot of time when we are anxious, we tend to go to the comfort foods. So you want to focus more on if your overall emotional health is good, you tend to not want to keep eating the foods that might not quite be as healthy for you. And then when you manage your stress, a lot of the time that goes hand in hand with you not wanting to go to those comfort foods.
Hey, Jody, real quick. I came out of the presentation mode.
Oh,
there you go.
Is it in it?
No, not yet.
Oh, okay.
Current slide.
Does it say look now?
Yeah, perfect.
Okay, weird. Okay, sorry.
No worries, keep going.
All right. So then there's a few slides on experimenting with the mindful eating, because there's it can be a little weird, honestly, when you start trying to be more mindful of your food. It's just about paying more attention to everything, which slows you down, which is very important when you're trying to be more mindful too. So you have to experiment and find a technique that will help and work for you. You may find 2 or 3 different techniques will work. But one of the ones is that they call it eat what you want. So you want to consider, is it a good or bad food? Should you or shouldn't you? I usually tell people you don't want to focus on something that is good or bad, because then you feel like you're doing something wrong. Just recognize it might not be as quite a healthy of a food choice for you, but if you're going to do it, don't feel that guilt about it. So when you are having something that, might not be quite as healthy, take a bite of it, move it around in your mouth before you start to chew it, and then notice the taste and the texture and the temperature, and then chew very slowly. Now, is it a good food? Did you enjoy it? If not, was it something that you liked? If you don't, does eating that food, you don't really want it because it doesn't really feel any good? or is it just that's not what you wanted at that time? So focusing on what the good food means for you and how it feels in your mouth is going to focus on the reaction you're going to have to that type of food. So when you're trying to introduce maybe foods you're just like neutral about, you focusing more on the benefits of that food might make it a good food for you. Another one is to sit down when eating. This is one of the ones that every job I've ever worked, this is a question on our assessment forms for people. So do you sit at a table or even the desk or a chair when you begin to eat? And then does this simple act of sitting down make you focus on your food more? So this is usually one of the first recommendations we do for people when we're trying to get them to practice mindful eating or focus on weight loss. So when you're sitting down, you're focused on the food. You aren't distracted by either a tablet or TV or anything else going on. And a lot of time in this crazy world that we live in, we don't have the dinner time with our families anymore. So trying to bring back the family meals as much as you can. So you also want to, when you're focused on sitting down and focusing on the food, you can start recognizing when you're hungry, and then when you get to that point when you're satisfied with your food. And if you have your portion on the plate and you're good and there's a little bit extra, then you can just leave it. And then slowing down is another way to get kind of to this, we have the 20-minute rule. So it takes 20 minutes for our brain and stomach to kind of talk to each other that your stomach got the food. So you, to help slow you down if you're a fast eater, like I was for a very long time working in restaurants, you are a manager, you eat food in 5 minutes, you get to go. So putting your utensil down between bites and cutting your food one piece at a time. This is a habit that's a lot harder for people to break. You usually get your piece of chicken and you cut it all at once. That means you're going to eat it faster. So cut it one bite at a time. Focus on the food that's actually in your mouth versus what else are you going to put on your fork and put into your mouth. Alternate eating with your non-dominant hand. If you're a righty, eat with your lefty. It'll slow you down. You might make a little bit of a mess, especially with the soup. Periodically pause during your meal and notice how hungry you are. There's a hunger scale coming up too to just kind of show you how to gauge how hungry you are. And then just keep focusing is your mind on the eating and not something else. So you can also take a few deep breaths before you decide what to eat. Close your eyes, stare, and focus at nothing. How do you feel? Are you hungry? Are you anxious? Because you're stressed. It's more trying to focus on how you are feeling at that time that think you're hungry or that you are hungry. And then you could take 3 deep breaths before eating because that helps with the smells of the meal, and then you expel any of the tension. And then I put the source on here. It's another dietitian. So this is the hunger scale. There's a lot of them out there, but this is just one of them. So this can help you tune into your feelings of satisfaction, hunger. Each person kind of feels a little different at each level. So if you're scale 1 to 2, you're hungry, you're like headache, dizzy, nauseous, the hangry feeling, low energy. Are you 3 to 4 hungry? You're kind of hunger pains, thoughts turning to food, growling stomach. Kind of neutral, not really hungry, but not quite satisfied. Maybe you could have a snack. Satisfied, you're finding that your eating slows a little bit and then you're comfortable, and then you can stop eating. And then you get to the 8 to 10, oh, I'm full, I'm stuffed, I don't feel right, I'm dragging, I'm nauseated, how you usually feel after you eat Chinese food. So you want to try to recognize your hunger levels at that neutral and satisfied stages. 9 ways to be more mindful. I do like this little portion size illusion. So which plate contains the most food? They all have the same amount of food, but this is how you can trick your brain. So portion sizes have gotten bigger over the years because plates have gotten bigger over the years in part. So if you put your things on a smaller plate or a bowl, use smaller utensils, it kind of gets you a little bit more mindful and gets you to eat slower too. Because if you look at it and you're like, oh, I'm halfway done with my portion and I know I should be full, you want to get down to the 20-minute rule. You want to get out of the autopilot mode, make healthy, easy and accessible. So always try to have frozen vegetables, even some canned vegetables in the house. If you can't have fresh fruit, have the canned fruit, because if that's there, you're more likely to have that easy, accessible stuff. And I have other stuff down in the other slides that goes over that. Excuse me. I'll just be taking a drink of water with my allergies bothering. And then, so eat when you eat. Some people have to, are very regimented with their work schedules, and they have to have breakfast at 8 and 12 and then have their lunch or dinner or snack. Whatever schedule is going to work for you. Slow down, take the 3 or 5 deep breaths before you eat. Try to make it last 20 minutes. And then you want to savor each bite. So eat slowly, pay attention to the food that's in your mouth. Mindfully check in throughout your mealtime. Am I hungry? What's my hunger scale? And then adopt gratitude. So be grateful for yourself for preparing a meal for you and or your family versus stopping to go get fast food. This is just another mindful eating exercise for each bite. So you choose your piece of food. So like a nut, look at the food, the shape, color, texture, smell it, and then you want to taste it, bite it, chew it, swallow it, say the name of the food, and then practice one mindful bite at every meal. So portion control. So portions, I mentioned, have gotten kind of larger over the years. If you don't have measuring cups or anything, you can kind of just look at it and be like 1 cup. Women, it usually works for us because we can use a fist. That's about the size of a cup. Men, you usually have bigger hands, so it's not going to work. But you can use the visual size of a baseball. Half a cup is about the size of, old light bulbs. Or I'm going to have to change it to a newer light bulb soon. And then 1 ounce of something is about 2 tablespoons, or the size of a golf ball. 1 tablespoon is the size of a poker chip. 3 ounces of meat, deck of cards. For women, the palm of your hands. So this is a healthy eating plate. We used to teach the food guide pyramid. Very confusing visual thing to teach people. I actually like that they focus on the plate. It's easier to kind of gauge, especially with kids. So what you want to do is make half your plate be the vegetables. And then fruits is added in here, but if it's like a lunch or dinner, a lot of people don't have fruit. So that would just be half your plate would be the vegetables. And then you have your quarter of your plate be the healthy protein, preferably the leaner type, the more fish and chicken. You want to limit red meat, and that includes pork. It's not the other white meat. So you want to limit pork and red meat to about 3 times a week. And then you have your whole grains. That's, in an ideal world, if you only have white potato or white rice, then that's fine. But you want to limit it as much as you can. You want to try to have more of the high fiber pastas, the brown rice, quinoa, anything like that. And then you want to make sure you're drinking plenty of water, unless you have disease states that you can't drink too much fluids. And you want to limit any sugary drinks, that's including juice, to less than a cup a day. Usually I tell people drink the water, have the orange or the apple over the 4 ounces of juice. That's the same equivalent. And then when you have oils, butters, things like that, you really want to limit them. Try to use the healthy oils when you use them, the olive oil, canola oil for cooking, but watch the portion of it, because all oils, whether they have the healthy fat or the bad fats, they all still have the same amount of calories in them. So helpful tips for managing those portions, ties right back to the mindful eating. So, manage your fork or spoon, use small ones after every bite, put your fork down, chew well, practice that 20-minute rule. So try to get your meal to last 20 minutes. And then also don't go too long without eating. 4 to 5 hours is usually max. It doesn't have to be, you don't have to have meals the whole time. Some people do better with smaller frequent meals, or some people do like the intermittent fasting, and they just eat in an 8-hour span. They're usually probably only having the 3 meals then. But usually people's breakfast and lunch are within 4 to 5 hours. They usually don't need the snack. It's most of the people that have trouble when it's between lunch and dinner. You have lunch at 12 or 1, you don't have dinner until 6 or 7. That's a long time. And if you don't have that snack in between at like 3 or 4, when you hit that wall, I call it, at work, you might think you're tired because you know it's a long day and you need caffeine, but it's usually because your blood sugars are going low and you want to have some type of snack. It doesn't have to be something big. It can be a few nuts, a cheese stick, yogurt, anything like that. So this is helpful tips for decreasing calories from your fat intake, because they are fat's the most calorically dense for portion. So you want to try to find, when you do have the meats that are loin or round, those are just naturally leaner cuts. So pork loin or sirloin or eye of round. All oils are healthy or not high in calories. So you can cut them out in half if you're using applesauce or fruit puree if you were baking. And then you can use fat-free evaporated skim milk to replace whole milk in any sauces if you're doing like a cream sauce. And then you can always have some meatless meals. There's the whole meatless Mondays that a lot of people do. So you can always substitute beans, egg whites, tofu for any meat. When the whole COVID thing hit and everybody was buying all the meat off the shelves, vegetarians and vegans were fine because nobody was buying out the frozen veggie patties and the tofu. So those options are always there. It's just getting used to kind of experimenting with them and making them taste good, because a lot of the veggie stuff doesn't have much of a taste to it. And then saute your foods in a small amount of broth or juice instead of using fat or oil. The broth adds a lot of flavor too. You just want to watch how much you're using because of the salt. So you buy the unsalted or the lightly salted options. So this is a few slides on weight management and how to overcome some barriers or challenges that you might have had in the past. I've tried to lose weight before, but it didn't work, and now I don't think it'll work this time. So this ties back to Janine mentioning the SMART goals. So you always want to make sure that you set measurable goals for yourself. So the SMART is specific. So what is your goal? Do you want to lose 2 pounds, or do you want to run a marathon in 2 weeks? Probably something that you want to put as, you know, a more achievable one, the A in here. And then measurable. How are you going to know when your goal is actually met? Is your goal just a weight loss goal? That's very measurable. And then try to figure out, is it realistic? Is it relevant? Why do you want to do what you want to do? Is it you want to, you know, you have a high on healthier eating and keeping your weight down to decrease that risk, then that's usually why that's important to you. And then time-based. So set a time frame for yourself that you'd be like, well, I want to lose 3 pounds in a month. That's your time that you want to focus on. But you also want to make sure that you're accepting setbacks. So if you, everyone always talks about, I had a bad day. I was stressed. I had a piece of brownie. That's fine. Like you're not going to undo everything that you've been doing, but you can undo it if you have a whole day of just going back on eating unhealthy. I eat when I'm stressed or depressed or bored. So this is trying to figure out, being more mindful, and if you are overeating, why do you do it? The first thing that you recognize is, I wasn't doing it because I was stressed, I was doing it because I was bored. So trying to figure out what you can use to distract yourself. Keep comfort foods out of the house if at all possible. That's usually the easiest way, but when you have kids, that gets a little bit harder. And then pay attention to what your mood is. I always tell people, I put the picture of the gardening up here, if your hands are dirty doing dishes or covered in dirt, you're not eating. Especially now that the weather's finally, I think, gonna be nice. You can get outside and do things in your yard that you normally weren't doing inside. I have a hard time not eating when I'm watching television or movie or sporting event. Well, there's no sports on right now, so that's an easy one to fix. But you can always, when you start going to movies and stuff, order a small bag of popcorn without the butter. I should have put the butter in quotations because it's not actually butter that they put on there. And then focus on that and eat that more slowly. Try to make sure you don't go out to any activities or a friend's house hungry if you know there's going to be a lot of snacks or anything there. Drink water or calorie-free beverage. A lot of the time people think they're hungry and they really are just thirsty. And then try to reduce TV time. So if you know you're distracted eating and not being mindful because you're watching TV, then try to reduce the TV time and read a book. When I go to parties, I can't resist all the snacks and hors d'oeuvres. So, try to focus on the fruits and veggies, or if you know it's your friend's house that never has any of that stuff there, bring a veggie platter or fruit platter or something with you. Eat slowly, don't hang out near the food tables. And then if you know there's something that might be higher in calories or higher in fat, try a little bit of it and then just fill it more on the fruits and the vegetables. A late night snacker, so this is one that's common for a lot of my patients when they're trying to focus on changing behaviors and losing weight. If it's easy for you to do and feasible, just don't keep the foods in the house. Try to do something else during those hours. So if you know you are a late night snacker because you don't go to bed early, that's just your normal habit, then try to use music, reading, notice if you're actually hungry or if it's just out of habit because you just have been doing it for so long. Physically active, very important to be physically active for various different reasons. It helps you maintain your weight if you're at a weight that you're comfortable at. It can reduce your risk for high blood pressure, type 2 diabetes, heart attack, stroke, several forms of cancer. It can reduce arthritis, pain, and associated disability. So anybody that's, as we age, a lot of stuff hurts and it's harder to get moving as much. But once you start doing like little bits of walks and some stretches, it can help decrease that chronic inflammation. It can reduce the risk for osteoporosis and falls, especially using the weights, the resistance types. It can reduce symptoms of depression and anxiety, and that's a lot more people are depressed and anxious right now because of financial reasons or being stuck in the house. So even just trying to pull up YouTube exercises, or if you have a gym membership and they're giving you the videos, trying to do those types of things. Even a 5 to 10% weight loss of your total body weight can give you a benefit to your health. We've had people come off of high blood pressure medications, decreased diabetes medications, just from even a 10-pound weight loss. So the recommendations are 150 minutes of moderate intensity for like a walking, like at a fast pace, light yard work, snow, which you didn't really have this year, biking, playing with your kids, or 75 minutes of a vigorous or a combination. So it's just, if you don't work out at all right now, you want to work up to the 150 minutes, set a measurable goal for yourself. So I just put vegetables and fruits on here, just vegetables a day, preferably the non-starchy ones. Always try to have a variety of color on your plate. I did put the serving size, so it's 1 cup of like a raw vegetable or like a leafy vegetable, or half a cup of like a cooked vegetable like broccoli or something like that. And always try something new. This is kohlrabi that's up here. They are starting to sell it frozen in some places, and you can make like a coleslaw out of it and cook it. There's lots of fun vegetables to try. And then raw versus cooked, there's benefits to both. Some fruits and vegetables need to be cooked to make it the nutrients more bioavailable. Some have to be raw, so you just honestly want to eat a variety of both. And then vegetables. So this is one that a lot of people ask me, so I always mention it. So fresh vegetables, they are more expensive in the winter months or they're off season. So you always want to try to buy like the in-season vegetables. They just taste better too, or from your farmer's market. The frozen vegetables, they're fairly stable prices year round. You can stock up when they're on sale. The frozen vegetables are starting to come back into the stores again finally. They retain more nutrients than fresh depending on the type of vegetable. They're usually picked at season at their peak and then flash frozen. And they're usually there and you can buy them when they're on sale. So nutrition wise, they both have their benefits, and it's just about the ease. A lot of the time, if you don't have time to prep green beans, but you have them frozen and you're going to eat them, then buy the frozen. And then canned vegetables, nutrients can be lost in how they preserve them. They can add sodium to your diet, so you want to try to find the no added salt ones when you can. But if you are in a pinch and that's all you have, the canned vegetables are better than nothing. This is just a little vegetable master mix. Just a few vegetables you can add in. You can chop them in about half-inch pieces, and only the amount that you're going to use within 3 days. And then you chop them up, put them in a sealable bag, and then you can use like half a cup to a cup of the mix in the following ways. There's like breakfast ideas, lunches, and dinners. It's just a good kind of easy like meal prep option to add into things throughout the week. Soups or even just raw quiches, anything like that. Fruit servings, so you want to, depending on the person and the size, you want to have 2 to 4 servings a day. Serving size is usually like a small or medium whole fruit, like a small apple or small pear, or half a cup of chopped or like a cooked or canned fruit, or 1 cup of like melon or berries. And then again, you want to always try to add different colors. Buy these in season as much as you can too. Try new different fruits. The top one's the blood orange, and depending on how your blood orange is, it could have like a little bit of the red or a lot of the red. Or you can always try like a cherimoya, which is pictured here. Kumquats, lychees, there's a lot of different fruits out there that are more available now to the American culture. I put some meal prep things on here. I'm a big meal prepper, and I feel like if you always want to try to have meal prep options for the week. So you can always roast a large basket of vegetables. Usually the root vegetables hold up a little bit more, like the carrots or asparagus, zucchini, potatoes, cauliflower, peppers, parsnips. Always cook them a little extra, and you can always add it to things like quinoa. Could be to your yogurt. If you have extra quinoa, you can put it in an omelet. You can use it in place of breadcrumbs. Add to chili. You can make a quinoa fried rice. Rotisserie chicken is always a really good option if you don't have time to cook a protein and you're wanting to grab something real quick on the way home. Use a rotisserie chicken, preferably the unseasoned one, just because they add sodium to the other ones. Always freeze your foods within 3 days, and you can always thaw them for later use. And then keep your refrigerator and freezer organized, because then you'll know, oh, when did I make this? Always just put a date on it. You can always make a meal plan for yourself or for the next few days. Make time for the meal prep and cooking. A lot of times, a lot of my people have been telling me that it's actually easier now that they've been working from home, because they don't have to worry about the commute home, and they can think about what they're going to make. They can always double a recipe for leftovers. Always have enough containers for your meal prep and leftovers. Costco's, BJ's has, and Amazon has like lots of like bulk storage containers for you. You can always prep them ahead of time as much as you can. And you know, if you can always buy them pre-cut. I hate peeling butternut squash. I did it this weekend, and every time I do it, I'm like, I'm just going to buy it cut next time. You will pay a little bit more, but sometimes it's a little bit easier to do it. You can always utilize a slow cooker or Instapot. There's lots of recipes that are out there. Some not so healthy, some pretty healthy. And then this is some fast and healthy snacks. So as people start going back to the office, or if they're at home and they want a snack, these are some ones that either are like lower carb ones or a portion of carbohydrate, or have just like a good amount of protein in them. So always just grab a fresh fruit, a small banana or an apple or something. Protein shake, lots of different protein shakes out there. You can always use a meal replacer one, or you can use like a Premier Protein or Nutrition Plan by Fairlife. A lot of people like those ones. Yogurt, I'd put the Oikos Triple Zero up here. I like that one because it has the stevia, the sweetener, so it's not overly sweet. And they add 6 grams of fiber to these, so that's a good amount of fiber. Cheese sticks are always easy and usually like don't go bad too fast. You can always do a few hard-boiled eggs for your meal prep, and those are easy snack for you. Carrots, celery, cucumbers, peppers. Any of the Fiber One snacks are pretty good. They're usually lower calorie and have a ton of fiber in them to fill you up if you want something sweeter. Or a granola bar, like the little chewy granola bars, those are usually 100 calories. Any of the 100-calorie snack packs, 3 cups of light popcorn, or you can buy the smaller bags of the healthy pops or the light popcorn. They usually are 100 calories for that bag that's in there. A quarter cup of nuts. Try to find the unsalted or lightly salted ones when you can. Dry roasted edamame or chickpeas is always a good option. So these are some fast, healthy meal ideas that taste yummy. So salsa chicken is one of the things I always tell people to try to meal prep, especially if you have the crock pot or the Instapot. You literally just put the chicken breast in there, dump the jar of salsa over it, and then either slow cook it for like 4 to 6 hours on low or on high for like 2 to 3, depending on how much chicken you have in there. If you have an Instapot, it takes like 30 minutes. It's really good in there. And then once it's cooked, you put it over rice, cauliflower, and some beans, and you have a very high fiber, very filling meal. Broccoli chaffle. So chaffle is something that the keto craze came up with, but I'm actually all aboard this one. It's very easy if you have a waffle maker. It's literally, if you have a big waffle maker, it's 1 cup of cheese and 2 eggs, and you just mix that together. And then I had cooked broccoli from the night before, so I put that in there, and then you wait till your waffle maker says it's done, and it's a nice, very filling meal and very fast. You can always do salmon foil packs or any of the foil pack cooking. You would just look up foil pack recipes. It's a good way to literally throw everything in the foil pack with your seasonings, and it cooks very fast, especially salmon. You can always do taco salads, preferably with the ground turkey or ground chicken. You can always cook up some ground turkey real fast with some pasta sauce over zucchini noodles. This is a quinoa stuffed bell pepper. You can always do quinoa chicken parm as the quinoa is the coating, and it's a very healthy grain. Or chicken lettuce wraps are pretty fast too. You would use like the ground chicken to cook up, which cooks a lot faster than regular chicken. They were asking for non-perishable snacks and foods to boost the immune system. So this is just some of them. They all have different either vitamins that help boost the immune system or antioxidants. So wheat germ, and you can just get that. I put Bob's Red Milk because that one's usually pretty available everywhere. Ocean State Job Lot and Big Lots. I know Ocean State has this usually, and it's a lot cheaper there than in the grocery stores. But his products are usually pretty good. And you could just add the wheat germ to a smoothie, or people add it to yogurt. Tea is always a good one to boost the immune system. Sardines, if you like them, they definitely would boost the immune system. And they're a good source of calcium and vitamin D for you too. Dry roasted chickpeas, you can make your own. You can buy them dry. However you want to do it. They're good when you start experimenting, because then you can put the seasonings on it. You can make them spicy, anything like that. Canned chickpeas are always good to have there, because you can put them on salads and things like that. Dried strawberries or freeze-dried strawberries they last longer because the moisture's pulled out. Sunflower seeds, pickled ginger, dried pomegranate, and then the freeze-dried, I never say this right, acai berry. And then these are perishable ideas that help boost the immune system. So mushrooms, yogurt, spinach, sweet potatoes, broccoli, garlic, miso, which is fermented soybeans. They do make miso out of other beans too, but usually you want to get the one that's the soybean. Ginger, red bell peppers specifically, because they have more vitamin C in them, and strawberries, they have the vitamin C in them. This is just a recipe for whipped cauliflower potatoes, so it's not straight cauliflower, so this is a good way to try to get, vegetables to the kids, or if you're not a cauliflower person yourself, this is another way to kind of like just, have some yummy mashed potato texture, but you cut the carbs in about half. This is a vegetarian lentil and barley soup recipe. So it's honestly, it's fairly easy. Just kind of dump everything in the pan after you cook the garlic and oil. But lentils take a little bit longer to cook, so does barley. So you want to cook at least 45 minutes. These are some helpful websites just when you're looking for nutrition information that you know is accurate. So Choose My Plate, eatright.org is actually the where the dietitian's website. National Institutes of Health, Mayo Clinic, the CDC, which they're what you want to go to for like sanitizing everything too, and then nutrition.gov. And then a good book suggestion is 365 Days of Healthy Eating by the Academy of Nutrition Dietetics, which is the eatright.org. These are some websites for some healthy recipes ideas. So eatingwell.com, and you would just type it like healthy into these websites. Foodnetwork.com has their own, allrecipes.com, realsimple.com, and then cookinglight.com. Most of their stuff is healthier, either lower carb, lower fat. There is a lot of meal delivery websites. These are ones that are still delivering now in this climate. Some of their stuff may be pushed a little behind. Some of these are the ingredients are there and you would cook the meals yourself. A couple of them are there, you would just heat them up. Those ones do cost a little bit more money, but it is an option for a lot of people if they're trying to eat healthier meals that aren't like a frozen dinner. Some of these have gluten-free options. Some of them have vegan options. Some have vegetarian. Purple Carrot is a vegan one. It's definitely something to play around with, even if you do it for like the first time. They usually give you like a half off thing, or if you know anybody else that has done these, it's always a good option. And then some places are still doing Instacart and Peapod. A lot of places are doing curbside for like put your order in online and you can pick it up, so you don't have to go into the stores. You can always ask your doctor, doing my shameless plug for myself, you can always ask your doctor for a referral for nutrition counseling. And if they're part of Hartford Healthcare, they would just send it in through the Epic system. It would be to Midstate Diabetes and Nutrition, where I work, or the Hospital of Central Connecticut. We can help for various amounts of various degrees of disease states, weight loss, and prevention. And then just like this little kid. Any questions? I don't know if there's anything in the chat.
Yeah, feel free to type in the chat box or come off mute. I will be monitoring. I think we all can monitor it as well if anyone has any questions.
Hi, this is Jamie Carrera. I just I don't have a question. I just wanted to make a comment that I thought that this was excellent. And I'd really like to share the presentation with a group if that's possible.
Yes, this video of this recording will be posted on our SharePoint site.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Everyone who registered for the presentation will get an email with the link for the survey, and it will also have the link for the actual video once it goes up on our site as well.
Yes, thank you very much. It was very informative.
Jody asked if you could get a PowerPoint of the slides or a PDF of the slides, possibly.
I think I should. I should be able to send it. Yeah, because I don't care about. I can share mine. I would just have to make sure, like, because Janine like would have to make sure her stuff's okay to be shared too.
Oh, it's fine. Yep.
Okay.
Fine, no problem.
Yeah, I can. I'll email you it, Elena.
All right, that sounds perfect.
Okay. And there was some other questions like that Peter had like emailed about, like somebody was asking about like vegan nutrition recommendations. I usually don't do like a broad recommendations for protein or carbs for like anybody. Usually that's when you would come to us, because protein recommendations, carbs, fat, grams is all based off of weight and like blood work and disease states. So if it is if the person that was asking about that they could always come see one of us dietitians.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you to everyone joined for the presentation today.